Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Reviewing Updates on Workforce Training Grants with AIM HR Solutions and MassMEP. Our speakers today are Kathleen Worthington, Senior Director of Education and Workforce Training with AIM HR Solution, and Lisa Derby-Oden, Project Development Manager at MassMEP. In today's webinar, they'll answer the most asked questions surrounding the grant programs, such as what are some updates that are just recently occurred to the workforce training funds that you should know about? Do you qualify and how to get started? Which training topics are eligible for grant funding? What are some best practices and tips for getting your application approved? How long does this process take? And how do you build a training plan that meets your organization's needs? I'm your moderator, Kevin Tata, the Marketing Associate with MassMEP. Thank you all for joining us. As you can see, we're in webinar format right now, but you'll be able to engage with us through either the chat or the Q&A function in Zoom. We like to say if you have a question, more than likely someone else in the audience has a similar question, so please put it in the Q&A and we'll go over those questions and answers after the webinar or after the presentation. If you have something specific you need to reach out to a panelist directly, please use the chat option. We have an hour set aside for this event today, as we feel that will be plenty of time. If we don't get to some of your questions, we'll address them through your email addresses you provided. And without further ado, I'll pass it along to Lisa and Kathleen. I will first share my screen with the PowerPoint.
Oh, the details, right?
The details. You guys can see that?
Perfect.
Okay.
Yep.
Then I will pass it along to you guys and you let me know.
Okay, so if you want to go ahead and move to the next slide where it says welcome in really big letters, then that's what I would like to do, is welcome everybody to today's webinar. It's great to have you all here. You know, the grant situation is ever changing, and so we like to do these info sessions every so often to keep you up to date on what's going on with the general grant and the express grant. As Kevin said, I'm Lisa Derby-Oden. I've been with MassMEP. I'm now in my 12th year there, and have been writing these grants for 5 or 6 years now. So have a bank of knowledge to fall back on here. Another good reason, besides the changes that have just happened recently, the thing is everybody's looking for workers now. Everybody is looking for help. They can't find the help that they need. And so by providing training that these grants offer, it really helps you to be able to attract, engage, develop, and retain the people that you have. And when an individual that's working for you understands that you're willing to sort of contribute to their continuing education and ongoing career development, it makes them want to stay with you. So it really helps with that a lot. But we're not going to get into that yet. I want to go ahead and introduce Kathleen Worthington. And Kevin, if you could go to the next slide. Kathleen is with AIM, and MassMEP and AIM have always shared a very special relationship. When pre-COVID, we used to go on a lot of grant calls together because AIM provides a lot of kind of training that MassMEP does not. MassMEP really specializes in the training and support for the technical side of your business. And so we're talking about like quality, continuous improvement, lean, machining, and work instructions. There's a variety of other things that we also do, but AIM HR Solutions is all on the human resource side of the business. So I'm going to let Kathleen talk about that now.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks so much for attending. And thank you, Kevin and Lisa, for inviting me to participate. You are my favorite partners, and it's always a privilege. So thank you. We do have a special relationship. I've been with AIM almost 7 years and 6 years in the grant role. And I really learned from being with them first. We went and traveled around the state. We learned, we visited manufacturing plants. We talked to people and to employees, and it was a wonderful journey. And now here we are post-COVID, and we're still working on grants. And we really believe that it's your money to be had. AIM HR Solution does bring the people side of the business. We focus on developing strong supervisors and leaders. We focus on communication skills, emotional intelligence, customer service, and also diversity and inclusion. Then we also help to grow our HR function, people that have been put into the new HR role and need a new toolkit. They need to get some skills. So we focus over on that side. MassMEP is on the technical, how to do my job, and continuous improvement side. And we think we're a pretty good combo together. I think we're a good twofer. So next slide, please. So what do? Together, we partner with each other and with you. We really want to positively position you for success. We want you to not be overwhelmed by this grant process and go, it's like a term paper or it's a huge project. Not so much. I mean, it is quite a bit of filling out an application, but it's manageable and we chunk it out for you. Most importantly, we help you scope your training needs. Not every problem is solved with training. And so we take a deep dive and do a needs analysis with you to find out what problem are you really trying to solve with training. It's kind of the who needs what, when also. And we offer you options. We're not selling, we're just offering you options and considerations. We're trying to help guide you to the right solution for you. We also have in our toolkits, Lisa and I have a bunch of best practices now that we've collected over the years. We have samples to share with you of cover letters and applications. I just got one from Rob Duncan from Commonwealth Corp last week that it's in a PDF form we can share with you. So you don't have to start from scratch. It's always kind of nice to have a model. We will also provide feedback. We'll say, you might want to word it this way, or the spin is just a little bit too, because we've worked closely with Commonwealth Corporation and we've learned what matters to them and what they're looking for and what's required in every grant application, especially in the general grant, which can be more complicated. And throughout this entire process, which can be, it could take you maybe a month or 6 weeks to get it done. It's not your full-time job. We know that. Or it could take much longer, which we don't advise because then you get distracted, you lose focus and momentum, and it's not the same. But we offer support along the way. And I love that Lisa's my partner in that because she will keep us on task. She's very organized. She's a great communicator and she's really smart. So I think that, again, I think we're a good combo to help you along your journey. Next slide, please. So Lisa already alluded to this one. The business case, if you had to present one to your leadership, it's really about the cost of turnover. And turnover, and not even turnover, but attracting new employees, really hard, as she said. But more than 3 in 4 people who resigned could have been retained. And often we hear that they felt stuck. They felt like there was nowhere else to go. They're not learning new skills. They're not growing their skills. They see lack of opportunity ahead. They're stuck. So there's no need for them to be stuck. We have grant money available in the Commonwealth. And as long as you're paying into the Certificate of Good Standing and Unemployment Fund, which Lisa will talk about in a minute, there's possibilities for you. Next slide, please. This is one that I've focused my whole career on, is engaging and retaining employees and developing them. And it really is important that we are constantly growing our people. We want to build that commitment. We don't want compliance that they're just showing up, kind of doing a job and then they're out of there. We want that commitment that they see that they want to partner with you as a company. They want to learn more. They want to be cross-trained. They're looking for perhaps promotion and other possibilities. So this investment in your employees is a really valuable one. Lisa, do you want to jump in at all? I'm on a roll and I get kind of going.
No,
here.
I think I'm the next slide.
All right, next slide, please. Okay,
Thanks, though, Kathleen. Thanks. Yeah, Kathleen and I are going to swap back and forth here so that, hopefully we'll keep you entertained throughout
Oh
as we
dear.
go. I'm going to talk a little bit about the money itself, like show me the money, right? Where does this money come from? This money is distributed through the Workforce Training Fund program. And what it does is it really gives Massachusetts employers a way to invest in improving their employee skills. And of course, they want to do that because they want to keep jobs here in Massachusetts. They want to keep people moving forward in jobs and up and forward. And so that people want to come here to work and live. In fiscal year 2022, the program approved over $31 million in funds. That's a huge amount of money. And it funded 1,338 businesses to help train more than 23,000 workers. So you can see the impact that has across the Commonwealth. Next slide, please. So where do they get the money? It's funded through money that you're paying in your payroll tax in the state of Massachusetts. If you're not paying in on payroll tax, then you're not eligible for the grant. But most companies and organizations are paying into that. And typically annually, it's anywhere between 18 and $22 million that are set aside for specifically training incumbent workers, people that are already working in your company. So again, that's a lot of money. So now you're saying, well, you just said 31 million last year. What happens is if there's funds left over from one year, then they're eligible to be spent the next year. And last year, following, COVID kind of taming down a little bit, the Workforce Training Fund did have more funds available than the 22 million in order to be able to give out. And so they did that. And again, this year, I think that they've told us that it's up to like, I don't know, $40 million worth of grant applications that they've received.
Mm.
And in order to fund a lot of those grants, again, they had a little bit of leftover money, but subsequently, they're going to be going back to that $18 to $22 million pot of money. So Commonwealth Corporation administers the Workforce Training Fund program for the Executive Office of Labor and Workforce Development in Massachusetts. So that's how the money flows. It comes in through the payroll taxes, and then is allocated to ComCorp, who then gives it out to these Workforce Training Fund grants. Next slide, please. So who's Commonwealth Corporation? Another great question. Commonwealth Corporation is and I love this. I always love the quasi-public workforce. Quasi-public is always just one of those things that makes me chuckle a little bit. But anyway, it's a workforce development agency that strengthens the skills of, youth and adults by investing in different kinds of partnerships with industry, education, and workforce organizations. So in addition to the workforce training funds, there are other kinds of grants and opportunities that they're also funding throughout the Commonwealth. Next slide, please. So how do you know if you are eligible for one of these grants? We've already talked about one of those things, which is that the company must be paying into the unemployment tax. But then anybody who goes in the training has to be a W-2 payroll on the W-2 payroll of the company that's applying for the funds. If you also have temporary workers and contractors and that kind of thing, those folks do not qualify to be trained under these funds. It's just the W-2 payroll employees.
Please, can I jump in? One
Sure.
point that people were asking me last week was, well, okay, they're on the payroll. Well, now some of us are hybrid, or some of us have remote workers now all over the country. Are they eligible too? And what we've been saying is that as long as they're on the Massachusetts payroll,
Right.
but they are eligible to attend the training, you just have to pay out of pocket for them. But
correct.
The ones that are eligible for grant must be on that Massachusetts payroll.
And I'll get it just into the weeds here for just a second. So one of the things that happens when you get one of these grants is you must keep attendance records. And
Mhm.
so if you have people that you're paying for that are not being funded by the grant, they should be kept on in a separate attendance record, because if you're audited by ComCore, then you would want to show them the grant funded employees that attended the training.
Great
Like I
tip.
say, I was gonna say, that's the weeds. Sorry, folks.
I
Um,
told you she knows her stuff.
So then another stipulation of this is, the companies, it's sort of free money in a way, but it isn't free really,
No.
because you've got to provide what they call a one-to-one match. And that's because the employees that are attending the training, the wages have got to equal the amount that you're being charged for the training. So that's another thing that you have to agree to when you sign on here, is letting your employees attend this training during their paid working hours.
Mhm.
And then the company must also be compliant with any of the other of the Commonwealth agencies, the Department of Unemployment, the Department of Industrial Accidents, the Office of Attorney General, and any other obligations that you may have to the Commonwealth.
Yeah, we feel that they need to be you need to be a good corporate citizen. Bottom line.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, next slide.
All right. So we have choices. We have options. The options have changed a little bit since post-COVID and going forward now. We used to be able to do the express program and the general program at the same time. I would call it the fast train and the slow train. The slow one's the general one. You're chugging along, filling it out. And the fast one was the express. Now we're going to slow down, where you can be in one or the other. If one ends, if your express grant ends, you can start up with a general grant and start writing. But I'm getting ahead. Let's start about what is an express grant. Well, these are great options for short-term needs. You want to just do a targeted training for a group. It's for companies of 100 employees or less. And that's a very important distinction now. We used to be able to have, I don't even want to get into the weeds with that, but over 100 employees, you could get 50%. That's not happening anymore. What we're doing is just focusing the express program on 100 employees or less, and it's 100% reimbursement. You get your money back. It's up to $3,000 per person per course, and up to $20,000 per company per calendar year. And we'll help you with all of that, but it's really a fantastic opportunity. Your training, one thing is you have to go shopping for your training in the Express Grant Directory that Commonwealth Corporation has online. So there's groups of pre-approved vendors, MassMEP, AIM HR, we're in there. And so you must stay within that little shopping area, and you select your courses. And it's very easy and very quick. You can fill out an application if you've got your certificate of good standing and you've got a range of dates when you want to have your training, and you've done your little vetting of the trainer, the programs. You get it all ready. You get online in the application. You can have it done in 15 minutes. And it's important that you do get your little data ahead of time, because once you start your application, you can't save it. You can't hold and go get a coffee and come back and then start up again. It's one and done. So do know that, but it's really easy and it's very quick. And you find out within a couple weeks whether you've been approved or not. Lisa, anything else on the Express that you can think of?
No, I think you've covered that there pretty well. Thanks, Kathleen.
Okay.
She's a smart cookie too.
Oh, we'll see. Thank you. General grant is a little different. It is much more comprehensive, but it's also for building a longer term strategy. This is where you really look at your business needs, your business goals for the next couple of years, 2 to 5 years, and you build a training strategy to support that goal. And you look at all of your employees. It's really important that we're not just targeting one in the general grant. We're really looking to give all workers an opportunity to grow and develop their skills. So that takes some real planning. It also takes some mapping out of timing. We can get all excited about getting a grant going, and then all of a sudden you forgot that you have a big new business release in summer of 2024. And oh no, they can't go to training. Oh, you got to think these things through ahead of time. What you don't want to do is get approved for training grant money and then you have to give it back. Not a good thing. So we're really being intentional and strategic about your training, who, what, where, when, and how. It's up to $200,000 for 2 years. And you get to go shopping outside of Commonwealth Corp. You can pick anyone you want around the world. The one caveat is they can only, you'll only get reimbursed for up to $350 an hour per training provider. So if they charge $500 an hour, well, you got a little bit coming out of your pocket too. But if they charge less than $350 or less, you're golden. You'll be able to get reimbursed. Lisa did talk about the one-to-one, the dollar-to-dollar match. And she mentioned, and we'll talk about that a little bit further along, but that's an important part of the equation of the investment. So I love that you have the flexibility with your general grant. Okay, next option. Nope, those are the two. Next slide, please. A little more detail on the general program. What is important to know is that it is not going to cover your private training investment, the cost of doing business, nothing mandated, especially OSHA, safety, HR compliance, onboarding of your new employees, training that would occur anyway without a grant, and past training, not eligible. We're not looking backwards, we're looking forwards. And your future with your business. So that's really important that you, and I think what we have learned recently is that there is a nice focus now where they really are looking for us to offer training in the DEI space, in English as second language space, and I think climate as well. So some hot topics that you might want to keep in mind. It is a rolling application process. You can start anytime you want, and it takes about 60 days or so, maybe a little less, to get approved. Now, if you don't get approved the first time you apply, don't worry. Commonwealth Corp gives some good detailed feedback. Lisa and I can help you with some rewording. We can reapply. And you can get approved if you've followed all of the feedback that they've given. So do not despair. You know, it's not like a heavy lifting and then you can't move forward. So that's great to know that they want us to be successful with you and you to be successful too. Lise, anything on this slide?
Nope, good job.
All right, moving on. Next slide, please. This is yours, Lisa.
All right, so we're going to talk about consortium grants. And I know Kathleen just said 2 types of grants, and now we're talking about a consortium grant, right? So actually, a consortium grant is considered to be a type of a general grant. So, you know, it's in that same bucket and same category. But so consortiums are when a number of different companies get together to submit an application, and there's always a lead applicant. And I know here at MassMEP, we frequently run consortium grants for either regionally for manufacturing companies that are maybe smaller and can only send, you know, 1 or 2 people to training. So it wouldn't really merit them submitting for a full general grant. You know, they couldn't really utilize that grant and make the match and that kind of thing. So a consortium grant becomes a great option. And in that model of the regional manufacturing grants, then those manufacturers choose the different manufacturing topics that they're interested in, and each of them sends, you know, a different number of employees to the training. And they might not send somebody to all of the trainings, but they've got a choice of the menu that way. There are other consortium grants that might be one specific topic, and the company's coming together around that one topic. For example, we have some marketing training that we've conducted that way, as well as our frontline supervisor apprenticeship training. that's conducted. These are all consortium grants. But so
Actually, Lisa, can I jump in? Actually, I'll give
jump
you.
in there, go.
I actually taught a consortium training class yesterday for MassMEP. It was a 4-hour class, and we had 2 from this company, 2 from another, 2 different industries, and it was fantastic because they really get exposure to, multiple companies. They build a little network. They're aspiring leaders. This was the apprentice program, and works really well. And then, as Lisa said, sometimes you can't afford to take 10 people off the line, so you're going to take 2, and then they offer it at different times. So I've had some great experience from the facilitator end of it, running the training and looking at the participation. I think they really appreciate the opportunity to be able to grow and learn and meet other people, other leaders.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that stuff up, Kathleen, because I know that's some of the feedback that we get that is wonderful about the consortiums of any type is, companies being able to learn from other companies. And in the frontline supervisor training, people being able to see that other people have the same problems that they do, right?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So it's a great environment. It really is. And you spoke to that quite well. But so a consortium can be led by a variety of entities, as you see here on your screen, and it is another option for grant funding for you. Okay, so next slide, please. So we're going to start getting into the process of how do you develop your grant itself, okay? And so when we work together, there's a process that we go through, and we actually have an application questionnaire that we provide you with and it's actually the questions that are on the online application, but we have you all fill it out on a Word document first, so you can do your thinking process there. You can put down, what you think might be a good answer. A lot of times we'll get, 2 or 3 bullet points, which, is not, we might need a lot more information. So it helps us to kind of tease that information out of you. And so you've got to identify what is your training need or your objective. What is it that you're really going after in this grant? And, there is a place where you have to really articulate that. And again, so tell your story. Say, what's going well? Is it growth related, or are you facing obstacles? What are your pain points that you're trying to alleviate? A lot of those kinds of things go into stating what that training need is. And from there, you go ahead and you start to develop your training plan and choose what kinds of training is going to help you to work on these problems and resolve them. And then at the same time, you have to be thinking about your KPIs. This is a really important part of your grant application. It really requires some good thought. You probably need to provide at least 3 good, strong KPIs, and they have to be measurable. A lot of times people are really loose in the way they describe their KPIs. And I'm always going back to clients and saying, okay, so what we need is a starting point, like a baseline. What's your measure right now for this? And where are you going to move this to in the 2-year time frame? What % increase does that represent at your company? And what dollar value does that represent? Those are all really important pieces of those KPIs. Next slide, please. So I already mentioned the questionnaire, and we can send these documents out to you ahead of time, but we like to meet and go over all of this information with you as well. And so really helping you to understand what's behind these questions that are being asked, what kind of information that Commonwealth Corporation is looking for in your responses. We also have a tremendous budget worksheet where we enter in the data about all of the training that you're looking to take, but individually, and it breaks it down to the 6 categories of personnel in your company that are asked about in the online application, so that you're going to show how many managers and executives are going to attend this training, how many professional and technical, how many construction and production, how many sales, how many service people, and how many administrative people. So those are the 6 categories. And you break those out, and the spreadsheet overall also includes all the information about the number of hours that are in the training and the cost that's of the training, so that you can first of all ascertain that this training comes in at $350 per hour or less, as Kathleen previously mentioned, and also that the training wages for those people that are attending will match, will match up with that cost of the training. You need that one-to-one match, and it's at a minimum, and you're better if you're on the plus side of providing more wages than the amount of funding that you're asking for. So the budget worksheet is a great tool. It allows you to really take a look at this stuff and make decisions. If you don't make match, what does that mean? Do you not do the training, or have you over-made match in another one so that it evens out in the end between those? And if it's over $350 per hour, are you going to request the $350 and then say that the company will pay whatever it is over the $350? And again, that they fund those kinds of trainings most often, and because it also is showing the company's willingness to invest in the training program itself as well. Anything you'd like to add to any of that, Kathleen?
No, that was great. I think it's really important that you have your senior sponsorship. You've got the right people available to help you with these numbers. And this questionnaire and the budget worksheet are invaluable tools. They really are your pre-work. It makes it so much easier when you're online. And, the general grant, you can save, you can chug along and then stop and come back in, but it really helps you get ready. And I can't speak enough. I can't imagine doing it without it, Lisa. Yeah,
I agree. I totally agree. I know this is a little story. We had a project manager once that was saying to me, well, like I've written those general grants and I go in and help the companies with them too. And he said, but you've got that budget worksheet and stuff. You don't need that. You can just go, and it's true. You can just go into the online application, but you have no way there's no double check on that then. And there's no way to really be sure that your application is thorough, and your application can be turned down if it's not thorough. So excellent tools.
Yeah.
I think we're okay for the next slide.
All right. Oh, this one's mine. So we were talking about KPIs and measuring what matters. And as we said earlier, we're going to give you samples. We have little tips and tools, and this is for an example. Turnover, increased revenue, error rates, improved on-time delivery, raises, how many people will be getting raises, promotions, how many. So you're going to make estimates on this one, but with your KPIs, it's really important that we are measuring what matters. And I think of it as like jumping on the scale before you start your diet. And then what's your goal? And getting on the scale again, 6 months, a year later, whatever. It's truly important that you're telling that growth story. And what we have learned most recently is it's not about, okay, training's done, great, we're all good to go, see ya. Not at all. They want to know in the application how you're going to sustain that training. What additional investment are you going to make of time or money and people to continue to upskill your employees and to reinforce the learning through the way that you're working, through the way that you're, your performance appraisals, whatever it might be. So you really need to think strategically and be willing to make a long-term commitment to continue to grow your people. I heard that loud and clearly last week. So we will coach you on that. We'll push on you, poke you a little. What are you going to do? It's not, oh, we'll have a meeting every quarter and say, how are you doing? It's got to be much more engaging. So that's something to be mindful of. Next slide, please. And again, this is another sample list of approved training topics. Basic skills of how to do my job, Number one, right up there, English is speakers of other languages. They're really looking to help strengthen that around the Commonwealth, that level of skill. And then you can look at the technical skills in the center. That's where MassMEP shines for sure. And then there's, I mean, this is just a little sample list. And then I'd like to think we're shining over on the right. These are some of our favorites and our most frequent. DEI should be in there. Yep, it's down on 13, but it's a top one for us. I just taught a class a couple of days ago on diversity and inclusion. So this is examples of what you can find in your Commonwealth Corporation Learning Catalog for an express grant and what you may consider for your general grant. Next, please. And then, okay, we said it before, we'll say it again. Not okay, mandated training, corporate type of HQ, you know, headquarter type mandated training that's already gone on or happened before. The cost of doing business, that's your responsibility. And they're very firm on that one. So refreshers, nope. Basic to the job, all of that, that's your job. So we're looking for out of that realm. Okay, next slide, please.
Okay, so we're getting down to the end part here, and we just want to provide you with some sort of best practices here that will help you be successful in your grant applications. First of all, you want to make sure that you do have the support and sponsorship of your senior leadership at the company. If you're, you know, sort of in the mid-level of the company and you think this is a great opportunity and you do all the work to put this together and you then take it to leadership and leadership says, well, we don't have time for that, or this isn't a good time for that, or whatever, you know, then you've kind of lost that opportunity at that time. So you'd want to make sure that your senior leadership is clued into this from the beginning. You want to work in a collaborative fashion with others in your company to collect the information that you need, and also with AIM and MassMEP as you go out through the process. And we're very happy to do that with you. We really like being, you know, a partner in the process because we want to see you succeed too. We want to see you get this grant and be able to help your employees in this way. Another thing is to go ahead.
On that point, sorry to interrupt. I know the Commonwealth Corporation in the application is looking for not you only to be selecting the training topics, but to be speaking with your employees, as Lisa said, running focus groups, doing a survey, maybe some one-on-ones, but finding out from your workforce, what do they want to learn? It's not just what we think they need to learn, but what do they want to learn? And there's actually a line on the application that says, how did you determine these training topics? You know, who did you speak with? So
how do you involve the trainees?
Yeah.
Good point. Thanks.
Yeah.
Another success factor will be in completing that questionnaire and the budget worksheet before applying, because that works out, you know, all the details and all the little glitches and all the little things that you need to prior to getting online and filling that application in online. And then again, having access to your business data. This really, you know, relates to those KPIs, but it also relates to, you know, making sure that you've got good figures for the wage rates when you're calculating the match and that thing as well. And then again, we'd like to think that the fifth critical success factor is working with us and our support for sure. Next slide, please. So what are your next steps? Again, this is sort of, you know, just a review of where we've been here today. You want to make sure that you identify the sponsors within your company that are going to be involved with this and who your active partners will be. And then you would like to go ahead and set up a meeting with us to review the grant and the requirements and the support that you can count on. Then the next step would be in actually starting some of that application questionnaire and the budget worksheet. And again, one of the key areas there is to identify those critical business training needs, right? You can't determine really what your training objective is and what your KPIs will be until you're able to really hone in on what those training needs are.
Lisa,
From there, yeah,
just
go
to
ahead.
that point, I was thinking, if you have a burning need right now, and you know exactly that it is targeted training that you need, you can apply for your express grant if you're under 100 or
Yes.
under, and that's a little note to think about. And then you can also be working on that general grant, so that once your express grant training has been completed, you're still making some progress on that general grant. And then you're able to eventually you apply for that for the longer term, more strategic training that your company may need. It's something that some people feel like, but I need the training now and I've got to write this big training, general grant. Unfortunately for the larger companies, that's not the case for you any longer, but for the smaller companies, it is an option for you.
Yeah, that's a great point, Kathleen. And that's actually a strategy that we frequently employ with our clients as well. So thanks for mentioning that.
Sure.
Then once you've gone ahead and built the training plan along with a timeline of how you think you're going to roll that out, then you can go ahead and see who it is that you want for your training partners on the grant. It could be MassMEP and AIM. It could be other third-party providers in addition to that. Once you have all of that information scoped out, then you're ready to go ahead and apply. Once you've applied, as Kathleen mentioned earlier, it is probably going to take, you said 60 days. I'm going to say at least 60 days because Commonwealth Corporation has been inundated more recently with grants. So it is usually taking that 60 days to get your approval. And then you have to count on another month for the contracting phase. So
that's true. And you don't schedule your training until you've been approved and had your orientation. You'll get a Commonwealth Corporation account manager, someone that'll guide you through, kind of keep you on track with your administration side. And you do not want to have your training. Don't get too aggressive on that one.
Yeah. Right. Good point. Okay, next slide.
Hey, it's us.
That's us.
Okay.
Yeah, we did it. And so now I think it is time for questions and answers, right?
Yep, it is. But before we get to that, I just want to let everybody know to screenshot this information that's on the last slide. And if they have any further questions to ask either of you two, then this is where you find it. So if they want to just do that real quickly. And then
Kevin, one thing that I saw that's kind of going through the chat was that we will be sending this out as a PDF. You will get the presentation afterwards. Please know, I know many of you have asked that. And Kevin's also going to go through some of these questions for us. But if it's really specific to your company, or you have a kind of a niche question, we'd be happy to take it offline, because we don't want to get too in the weeds while we have lots of people on, but we are happy to talk to you afterwards or at another time that works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And this will be also shared onto, this whole presentation will be shared onto MassMEP's YouTube. So if you go on there, you can find all of this, and you can also find the PowerPoint as well. But without further ado, we can go into the questions and answers portion.
I'll jump if you don't mind. I see one. Lisa loves this one.
Please
What
go
do
right
you
ahead.
mean by matching funds? Does that mean if a training is a $350 per hour, company needs to show it's paying each attendee at least $350 an hour, including benefits? No, that's a great question. Thank you. That's the part that hurt my head when I was first learning about grants. Lisa, you're the expert.
Oh, okay. So if you have 10 people in the training, I'm going to just do it by example. That might help best. I think it's a great question too. No, you don't have to pay people $350 per hour. There are the two criteria that they're looking at these trainings by. One is that the training providers cannot charge more than $350 per hour. And the other one is that the company has got to make sure they provide the matching funds, which is unrelated to the $350 per hour. Okay. The matching funds relates to if you have 10 people in the training and they're all making $25 an hour and the training is 10 hours long, then that's like $2,500, I think, if I do the math correctly and quickly here. And so then that means that that's the matching funds that you have to offset the cost of the training. So if the training was $2,200 and you were providing the $2,500 match, you're good to go.
So they're already paying the hourly rate. They're
Right.
already,
Yeah.
and they're holding the training during
Work hours.
Right. It's not, a one-off kind of an odd time. Yeah.
Right. And it's also, they also say if there's pre-work and homework involved for any of the students, that is also done on paid time.
Yeah.
Company hours and that kind of thing. Okay, I see one there that says, how do you become a pre-approved vendor for the Express Grant? And that's actually on the Express Grant website. They actually have a button that you can click on and find all those details. There is a process that is very well outlined. So if you Google, Workforce Training Fund Express Grant in Massachusetts, you'll come right up to that website. Were you going to try to, maybe somebody can pop that in the chat, how to find that? We'll see. Let's see, what else do we have for questions here?
Katie has an interesting one. What if we are 6 months into the training program and we hire a new employee? Can we add them to training rosters, even though we already submitted everything? I don't think so. I think it was approved with a certain number. What do you think, Lisa? I'd want to ask them.
I think they can.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me.
So, I mean, as long as the training provider doesn't have a cap on how many people can fit in that class, as long as you're making match, you can add more people into that training if you want. Because Kathleen, have you ever seen the quarterly activity reports?
Yes.
Okay. So you know how sometimes if you've said you're going to send 10 people to a class, and when it comes down to it, only 7 went.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You might not quite make match on that class, but if in the next class you said you were going to send 10 and it turned out that you actually wanted to send 15, then that helps to offset those differences.
Yeah, I follow you. I would let your account manager know you're doing that. That's one thing, but yeah, thanks, Lisa. All right, Katie, I hope that helped. Some of these are pretty specific to the.
Yeah, so if we don't answer your question here today, then we will make sure that, we get to you offline on, via email or something like that as well. But so there's one here about are nonprofits eligible for training grants? Yes, but there's a yes, but on that. They have to, and I don't know the detail of the but on that. That is pretty well laid out on the Workforce Training Fund grant page as well, and we can get that link for you and that information.
Let's see. How about one to Vicki? This might be a common one too. We'll be doing a startup manufacturing initiative in 2024. As this is a new growth category for the company, we are not sure what the KPIs would be for the training, other than what we expect to reach with increased sales. Would that be enough? Yeah, you definitely would zero in on sales, and then we could maybe break it down a little bit for you. Right, Vicki, it's a little hard when it is just evolving, but I think you need about 3 to 5, if I recall.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think you're in the right you're going in the right direction with your thinking.
Right. Let's see. And Vicky again said, we're looking to hire 10 people for the shop and we want to be able to provide CNC training and some other manufacturing skills. We do not have anyone knowledgeable on our staff today. That kind of training would qualify, you know, for one of these grants. Certainly.
Perfect.
Is there info available to show recent changes to Express and general grants that compares former current guidelines? Oh, Chuck, yes, there is. Definitely go to Commonwealth Corporation and you can go in and see the current state of what the new requirements are. The comparing to the past, I don't know if there's a chart that would do before and after. I thought about offering that, but that can be confusing for people that have never experienced the after, or you know, the before rather. So but we can help you. We know the past very well, but it'll show you the future and where we are today going forward.
Perfect.
I think that's it for the.
We answer Katie's. Yeah, I think that's it.
That sounds great. Well,
Yeah.
thank you all for coming to the webinar today. Like we said, this recording will be posted to MassMEP's YouTube, so you can view it there. Thank you so much to Kathleen and Lisa for being here and giving us so much of that information. It was very helpful, I'm sure, to a lot of you. And I hope all of you have a great rest of your day.
Yeah.
Thank you,
very
everybody.
much. Have a good one. Take
Bye,
care.
guys.
Bye.